This episode of Adulting with Donnie is brought to you by Adam and Eve, 4HM Clothing, MileHighAngel.com, and Manscaped.com. What is going on? Let me get this live stream going. I'm going to tell you right now off the bat, I'm annoyed right now. I'm going to try and keep it off the podcast, but I don't know. I don't know if I'll be able to. Let me get a beer open. We'll see. What's going on, everyone? Happy Monday. Hope you all had a nice week, a good, safe 4th of July weekend. I think I had mentioned that last weekend I was going to see the fireworks. Ro was working the fireworks, and I met up with Stan, and we watched them together, which was very romantic. Me and Stan just sitting there on the lawn, watching the fireworks go off. It was a lot of fun. But we got a tour of the PD, which was cool. We got there together ish. I got there a few minutes before him, and they had the police department had a cookout going on for all of the police officers. So Ro took me over there, and I got to meet her entire law enforcement family. And I mean, I met more people than I could fucking count. I met so many people that I'll never remember their names. But one guy that I did meet, was her captain, I think he was. And he also happens to be the commander of the CERT team, which is, it's like Special Emergency Response Team or something like that. Or maybe it's Seacoast Emergency Response Team. It's basically a SWAT team that's just compiled of officers from different departments. So like here in most big cities, you have a SWAT team, like LAPD has SWAT. Dallas PD has SWAT, and all these police departments have like a SWAT team. But around here, the towns are so small, even our quote unquote cities, the city of Portsmouth just isn't big enough to justify having its own SWAT team. So what they did about 15, 20 years ago was they created what's called a CERT team, which is just like they take an officer from one department and an officer from another department, and they kind of bring them all together to be on this team and make up. I don't even know how many people are on it. Let's call it 20. Let's just say there's 20 people on this CERT team, and Ro's captain happens to be the commander, and I was walking with Stan after the fireworks. Ro gave us a couple of folding chairs to watch the fireworks on. So him and I are walking the chairs back over to her car to leave them outside her car, and I was like, dude, you should have fucking seen it. Because when he got there, like, kind of the officers had started to move about to their assigned areas to monitor the fireworks, and but when I got there, I mean, there must have been 50 police officers out back at this cookout, all in uniform, all hanging out, and then there was also like a handful of off-duty guys, and so me and Stan are walking back, and he was like, Jesus Christ, I come down here, and there's all these police officers, and I mean, there could have only been 15 or 20 by then. And I was like, you should have seen it before you got here, man. They were fucking everywhere. There was cops everywhere back here. Like, and I had to meet all of them. I got handshakes from every single one of them. And it was really cool to meet all of them. I heard more times in the past week, I know you from Facebook, more times than I have in the past year, I think. Me and Ro are constantly posting pictures of each other, of ourselves, on Facebook. So I mean, it just seems like everyone that I meet already kind of has a general idea of who I am. They certainly always recognize me. I get recognized all the time. I actually got recognized just a week or two ago by a guy in the mall. He was an old guy, probably, I don't know, 70, 75 years old, something like that, and he had a walker. And he comes up and he's like, you're the guy. And I was expecting him to be asking for directions. That's what I get the most as the mail carrier. And that's what I get the most often is older people that either don't have or don't know how to use GPS looking for directions somewhere. So I figure this guy's asking me for directions somewhere. So he says, "You're the guy." And I was like, "Hey, how you doing? What's up? What's the matter? What do you need?" And he says, "You're Ro's mate." And which I laughed at, and he says, "I see you guys on Facebook all the time." And he was just really sweet, really nice guy. And he was like, "You guys have clearly found something very special with each other," which I fully agree with. Seemed like a very wise man. So, but I meet this SWAT commander, and I was telling Stan, like, this guy, he was exactly who you think of when you think of a SWAT commander. Like, this guy looked straight out of Central Casting. Like, if I didn't know better, I would think that I was in that Jim Carrey movie, The Truman Show, because this guy just looked like they pulled him out of Central Casting in New York City. Like, hey, we need someone to play. We need someone for 5 minutes to play a SWAT commander, and this was the guy that they pulled. Like, he's in his probably mid-50s or so. He's got the salt and pepper hair and the chiseled jaw, and he's just in the best shape of his life, better shape than I could ever hope to be, probably. And broad shoulder, all the things going on for him. And honestly, meeting all of these different police officers just made me walk away and be like, God, I'm glad that Ro doesn't date police officers, because that is a difficult pool for me to swim in when it comes to the people that I saw. And I guess maybe even that she doesn't go for guys that are just like completely ripped and in the top shape that they can be. I'm doing what I can to get in better shape, but yeah, I don't believe that I could ever look like a lot of these guys that I met the other night. So yeah, it was a good time seeing the fireworks and whatever, and I hung out with Stan for a few hours. We were supposed to do a podcast yesterday, and then we Seacoast Emergency Response Team is what CERT stands for. So I was right on my second guess. Yeah, we hung out for a few hours that night. We were supposed to do a podcast yesterday, and then we both forgot. So I texted Stan this morning and said, hey, I think we were supposed to do something yesterday. I hope you didn't wait outside of my house for 3 hours, which we both got a good laugh out of. And then we rescheduled for this coming weekend. This coming weekend is going to be a hell of a podcasting weekend for me. I'm meeting up with my friend Scott because he wants to know how to start a podcast. So we're going to meet up for drinks on Friday night. And then Saturday, tentatively, right now, I'll have to check at the end of the week. I don't know. This shit always seems to fall through with him. It always seems to fall through. But tentatively, the end of this week, I'll be meeting up with Jason from Shit Happens When You Party Naked to do a podcast with him. So we're going to have a cigar outside his house. I believe we're doing it at his house this time. Because he says he has a nice spot out back and whatever, so we can smoke a cigar, have a couple drinks, and do a podcast together. So that is tentatively happening on Saturday, and then on Sunday I've got We Deliver with Stan. So yeah, it'll be a hell of a podcast, and Ro won't be. Ro, it seems like Ro won't be home this weekend. She's got softball in Maryland, so I'll be, which is good actually, because I don't know that I would have scheduled all this stuff if she was going to be home, because I like to be around her. It's nice to have someone that you actually enjoy their company. So she's going to play softball, and then and sometime in July or August, I think one of those, her and I are going to Virginia together, which is going to be fun. Like, firstly, I've never traveled more than a few hours with someone that I'm involved with a significant other, right? Like, the furthest that I ever went with my ex-wife was like North Conway, New Hampshire, which is only like 2 hours away. The furthest I went with my ex was to New Jersey, which was like a 5-hour drive, and I was annoyed as fuck because, reasons. But I expect that things will be very, very, very different with Ro. So we will be we'll be leaving and driving, and I think it takes like 9 hours or so to get to where we're going. So that'll be fun. That'll be a good time. But that's also for a softball tournament. So like, it's not like we're going to King's Dominion or something like that. Is that even still called King's Dominion? I remember going there as a child. I liked it. We used to always go to Virginia when I was a kid. We went to Williamsburg, Virginia. It appears that King's Dominion is still an amusement park in Virginia. I imagine it's changed a lot since I was a kid, but we used to always go to what was it? Not Colonial Williamsburg, Busch Gardens. That's what it was. We always went to Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, Virginia, and we'd drive down and hit that park for a couple days. And I remember I had been on roller coasters that went upside down. There's one roller coaster at Canopy Lake Park here in New Hampshire or at least there used to be one. I think there's two now. But at the time, there was one roller coaster that went upside down, but it was like really quick. And I think the name of the ride was called the Corkscrew. And it was because its upside down portion was just like that. It corkscrewed around. It just it went straight, and then all of a sudden it curved up and to the side, and then you went upside down and came back down the other side. And then we go to Busch Gardens the first time, and I think I was like 11 or 12 years old, and my mother fucking loved roller coasters. So she was all excited about this roller coaster called the Loch Ness Monster, which got me heavily involved in becoming obsessed with the Loch Ness Monster. Which is unfortunate because now it seems like the Loch Ness Monster is just a hoax. Like, it's not a real thing. So we went to this place, and we get to the hotel on whatever night we arrive, like probably Thursday night we arrive. And we get to the hotel, and my mother shows me the little brochure of the park, of Busch Gardens. And it shows a picture of the upside down, of the roller coaster going in an actual upside down, not a corkscrew type of upside down. Like, this thing went straight up, curved all the way back, and came back down completely upside down. And I remember being scared as shit. Seeing the picture, I was like, I don't want to do it. I was crying and everything. And my mother was like, it'll be fun. It's going to be so much fun. You're going to love it, whatever. And she convinced me to go on. And I did. I fell completely in love with that ride. It was my favorite forever. And every time we went there, I had to go on that ride a bunch of times. I loved it. But yeah, we will not be going there for amusement parks. We will be, we'll be going to a hotel and hanging out and going to softball games. And I'm excited for it. Like we had a discussion a couple weeks ago, because not a passionate discussion, just a discussion a couple weeks ago, because it seemed like Rose started to get a little bit on edge, like I might not have fun. It was kind of what it seemed like, if I may be so bold as to speak for her. So it seemed like she started to get a little concerned about that, and I was like, that's fine. Like, if I'm bored, then I will fucking leave. If I'm bored at your softball game, then I will leave the softball game, and because we're taking my truck to go down there. So I was like, if I'm bored, then I'll just leave. I can go back to the hotel and hang out. I can go drive around and find something to do. Like, don't worry about me. And the more we talked about it for like 15 or 20 minutes, I'm really dialing back what the conversation was. But it by the time we were done, she seemed much more calmed down about it. And by the next day, like, we talked about it very briefly again the next day, and things seem to have been at a much more calmer pace. So I don't know if you guys listened to a little show called the Fumble Penis Podcast. Talked about Larry last week on this show. And I listened to his, I think it was his most recent episode. And I will tell you, Larry from the Fumbled Penis Podcast, I will not put up with your kink shaming of gangbangs and hot wives and ass to mouth and all the other great things that you can find in the plethora of. I mean, there is so much porn. Sometimes I can't believe it because if you look in the search bar on Pornhub, it's like 11 million possible videos, and then you have multiple other websites. There's RedTube, there's YouPorn, Xvideos, XNXX, Xhamster, which is a weird ass name for a porn website. Spank Bang. The list is endless for how many websites there are. Not to mention the pay ones: Brazers, Reality Kings, Naughty America. I mean, the list is endless. Okay, maybe it's not endless, but it does go on and on and on. And yeah, Larry, said, that's all, bullshit, and he doesn't want to watch it and whatever, and it's gross and it's awful, and why would anyone watch that? Fuck you, Larry. Okay, I don't know why you would ever say such awful things about all of these adult entertainers that are just out there trying to keep us entertained. All right. I feel like I'm at war now with Larry over this. I feel like he needs to be put in his place. Yeah, people have their kinks and they're allowed to. You're allowed. You're. This is coming from a guy who's not allowed to watch any African American female porn, which is crazy to me that you're not allowed to watch a certain type of video. But that's just my opinion. That's just the opinion of this guy. But speaking of porn, let's do some advertising. I do like this new form of advertising where I'm just going to do, here's one at 15 or 20 minutes. Here's another one later in the show. Here's another one later at the show. Adam Eve, AdamEve.com, offer code adulting, 50% off any one item. Excuse me. Ro bought me these Sam Adams summer nails, and they're good. Let's look at For Couples, because I assume that a lot of my listeners might have a significant other they want to enjoy this type of stuff with. No, look at this. They have the Liberator position aids on Adam Eve. I remember seeing these in the back of like Maxim magazine. I never really understood the point of them. That said, if you want one, then feel free to get one from Adam Eve using offer code adulting. But I never really understood the point of them. I don't know. Check with your SO. If you're a male listener, check with your SO. And because I want to know, like, does the pillow under the ass thing, is that really a thing that like works in any way? Because I've heard it before. I've heard of it before. I don't know if I've ever tried it. I don't think I've ever tried it. But it just doesn't seem like something that makes a lot of sense to me. Their most expensive one is the Liberator ramp and wedge combo. So you get, looks like there's a few different options here for the Liberator. There's the Liberator Jazz, which it looks like it's just a small pillow. There's the ramp and wedge combo. Then there's the wedge. There's the Talia spreader bar. I don't know if Talia is supposed to be a porn star that like endorses this thing. There's the ramp, and then there's the Oboer. It's Obeir. I don't know how to say that word. Oboer spanking bench, which looks like it might have some handcuffs hooked up on it or something like that. The spreader bar looks like it's just a. Just like it sounds. There's some ankle cuffs on the on either end of it, and it's just a bar. But I am curious why it's called a Talia bar. I don't know if it doesn't say anything in its description that I can see um, about it being endorsed by a certain person. So let's just check out this one: Liberated Ramp and Wedge combo. Let's go ahead and hit add to cart on that and see if my offer code works on this. I don't know all the things because obviously there's like some things on this website my offer code works with, and then other things it does not. It seems like it looks like this actually works. This takes nope, this does not. So you still get the free shipping, but you don't get the 50% off the one item. So I don't know if there's like a price limit on that discount or what's going on. But I will remove that from my cart because I don't think that I have a need for it. Maybe I'll ask Ro. Like, do you think that that's an actual thing? Hell, they even sell batteries on the Adam Eve website. If you find yourself in need of batteries, you don't want a sex toy, but you do need some batteries. You can jump on Adam Eve and buy some batteries with my offer code, and maybe get 50% off. But at the very least, you'll get free shipping and all those free gifts that it comes with. Sugar sack storage bag. That looks like it's probably some bag to carry your toys in. Easily the best storage bag for your adult toys. Keep your vibrators, sex toys, lingerie, and lubes safe and secure with this body healthy bag. What about the Adam Eve magic rabbit wand? That looks like an interesting one. Yeah, I mean, that thing is only, $19.95 on their website. So anyways, go to adameve.com, use offer code adulting. Get 50% off most any one item. They really should have put that in the copy when they first became a sponsor. Most any one item. And you get free shipping and all the gifts, the 6 DVDs, the gift for you, the gift for her, the gift for both of you. So that's where we're at. What else is on this list? I was wondering the other day what happened to wheelchairs. Like, I remember being in like middle school in like the 80s, like the late 80s, early 90s, and there were kids that I went to school with who played like football or something, and they might like break a leg and they'd be in a wheelchair for, a month or two. And I was wondering, like, whatever happened to wheelchairs? You never see anyone in wheelchairs anymore. People are always like, either they're in the motorized wheelchair, or they are they're using that little like bend your knee and put it on this thing and wheel yourself around type of thing. Like, I wouldn't call it a walker, but I think you know what I'm talking about. It's got the cool motorcycle bars on it, and then you kneel down on one side of it, and then you thrust yourself forward with your foot on the other side, and that's what I see the most of. I don't see wheelchairs anymore. I never see anyone in a wheelchair anymore. And I wondered what happened to them. Like, I was wondering a few years ago, whatever happened to cab over like tractor trailer trucks. If you don't know what a cab over is by its name, the cab over truck is that flat nose 18-wheeler truck, that flat nose 18-wheel tractor, whatever you want to call it. You never see those anymore. Once in a great while, you might see one, but for the most part, you never see them anymore. You see, the typical Optimus Prime, full frontal tractor. You don't see the cab. It's called a cab over engine, and you don't really see those anymore. I wondered what happened to those too. So wheelchairs and cab over trucks. What happened? I assume that the cab over trucks, this is my guess, is that they were terrible on fuel mileage, right? Because they're not very aerodynamic. You're putting a completely flat face against all the wind at, 70 miles an hour or so, 70, 75 miles an hour. That's probably not doing anything. I'd like to know I went away to Iraq in 2010, and when I came back, all of the trailers on these trucks had these skirts on the side, and I would like to know who, like, first, I don't know, like, I think it's a great idea. Don't get me wrong. So, but I would like to know who came up with that, and how much fuel is it saving to put those skirts on the side and make the trucks a little more aerodynamic? I bet it's saving them a ton of money. Saving all these shipping companies and whoever uses tractor trailers these days. I bet it saves them a ton of money to put these skirts on the side of the truck. So those are just some of my dumb thoughts. I don't think that I've talked about this on this show or anywhere, but it looks like I will be solely resurrecting Gun Shop Guys. It'll be Gun Shop Guys 2.0. If you don't know, if you haven't listened in a while, the Gun Shop Guys was a podcast that I co-hosted with my friend Vinny and my friend Stan, and originally my friend Harry, and it was Monday nights at 8:00. So this show, Adulting with Donnie, kind of took over that slot. But the show kind of fell apart back in February, and then I didn't really know what to do with it. I was looking at my bank account thinking, I don't know, do I want this show to stay? Do I want it to go? What do I want to do here? And ultimately, after about 6 weeks now of thinking about it, I'm going to bring the show back in a completely different format. It's going to be a different type of show. It's not going to be fucking political at fucking all. There will be next to zero politics going into it. It'll be, I'll do, product reviews. I will do shop reviews. I'll talk to shop owners. I'm going to try to talk to manufacturers, like actual creators. I'm going to try and talk to anyone and everyone that I can, and it'll all be over live stream. There won't be an in-studio thing, where I have guests like sitting next to me. It'll all be, some sort of, StreamYard type of thing. And, I've mentioned We Like Shooting and This Week in Guns a lot on this show. It'll be similar to that, where you have one person in one part of the country and one person in another part of the country. I think very rarely you might have, two people in the same room. But that show will be coming back. I just have to work out, some scheduling, figure out what is the day that I want to do this, because I want to make sure that show is getting posted on a weekly basis, maybe even a bi-weekly basis. I want to make sure that it's getting posted at a regular time. If I do the show, then I want to make sure that it has an actual schedule to it. I don't want to be missing weeks or anything like that. So I'm trying to get some people lined up. I'm hoping to get someone that's anti-gun on. That would be cool to me, to talk to someone that is anti-gun, and kind of try to get, not certainly not in a fight. That's definitely not what I want. But I would like to talk to someone that's anti-gun and get their opinions on why they think that, guns are bad, and see, and talk to them about my point of view, about, why I think that they're necessary, that type of thing. So, so that's what I'm hoping for. I was thinking the other day about some stories to talk about here. The first one, firstly, actually, firstly, I'm going to talk about my Whole Foods date. Me and Ro went on a Whole Foods date the other day. There's a new Whole Foods in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Just opened like 2 weeks ago now, and I've never been in a Whole Foods. I think I used a Whole Foods once for its bathroom when I was doing private investigations. There was one in Massachusetts that I swung into real quick to use their bathroom. But I've never shopped at a Whole Foods before. And so they opened up this Whole Foods in Portsmouth, and Ro and I were excited to check it out. So we made a date out of it, because almost every day we meet up in some way, whether it's just about every day of the work week, Monday through Friday, just about every day of the work week, we meet up somewhere, somewhere in Portsmouth we meet up. And that's, our lunch break is we hang out together for 30 minutes, catch up on our morning or our afternoon or what's going on at work for each of us, all that type of shit. So what we decided to do this past week was we went to Whole Foods, her in uniform and me in uniform, and then we walked around Whole Foods. And that place is going to get me in fucking trouble. Their meat section, their like steak section, holy shit. It looked so damn good. And then they got this salad bar. I can tell you right now where I'll probably be going to lunch almost every day is their salad bar. Their hot bar is it's incredible because they get fucking whole chicken breast. Well, maybe not breast. Maybe it was chicken wings, like whole chicken wings, and maybe the breast was in there because they were huge. Pieces of salmon, American chop suey, chicken masala, I think is how it's pronounced. Mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, different kinds of cooked greens like green beans or asparagus, just all types of stuff. And I ended up getting, a box when we went on that date to go, and and that ended up coming to $15. And then I went back there for lunch today and got they had like a Caesar salad, like it's just greens and cheese tossed in Caesar dressing. And so I got their Caesar salad, and then they have chunks of roast beef, like cut into cubes, so that you can make kind of a steak tip salad type of thing. So I threw some chunks of roast beef onto that. And then I also got a bunch of fruit with it. And that came to, $11. So, I might have to just dial the portions down a little bit. But it's $9 a pound. So, you go there and you get, 2 pounds worth of food, and you're going to walk out of there spending $18 or more. Cause I think they charge a meals tax on that too. So, but like the rest of the store, if you went and did your grocery shopping there, the rest of the store, when you get up to checkout, you go to your Amazon app on your phone and touch the Whole Foods button, and a little QR code pops up, and then you scan the QR code and you get 10% off, which is pretty cool. So, Whole Foods is going to get me in trouble, but the Whole Foods date was fun. Just walking around there together, both of us in uniform, and, really just hanging out with the peasants. The peasants that can shop at Whole Foods, because it is not a cheap place to shop at all, which is crazy because like that seems like it's a known thing. Like everyone knows that you hear stories all the time about Whole Foods being a an expensive grocery store, and it is. Looking at their meat section, like it's more expensive. Their meat is more expensive than just going to Market Basket across the street. And yet somehow people seem to ignore that. And I think that has something to do with like price. For some reason, when my mother instilled this fucking thing into me a long time ago, and it was not good. And I've been trying to fight my way out of it for 20 years. And that thing was that she said you get what you pay for. So I always thought like, okay, the more expensive the item, the better it is. My first laptop that I bought in Iraq on my first tour, it was a Sony laptop, and it was $2,400. And I bought it because it was the most expensive laptop that Circuit City offered. And I thought, it's the most expensive laptop, so it's got to be, it must be worth it. There's nothing that's ever going to go wrong with it. And the reality behind it is that it just had a bunch of shit on it that I had absolutely no use for. It had like, I don't know. Pick whatever software was available in 2004. It had probably, full Microsoft Word, which I wasn't using at the time. And really I don't need now. Google makes all of the Microsoft stuff. Google makes all of it free. I use Google Docs and and it's the same thing. And they have templates and whatever for resumes and invoices and all that shit. So and even if they don't, like, actually, I don't think that I didn't see a Google invoice thing the other day, and I had to do an invoice for one of my advertisers, and I just Googled invoice template, and I was able to download it and then edit it how I needed it, and I was done. So yeah, the peasants, Kelly, the peasants, all the peasants in Portsmouth, because we're the king and queen. We're the king and queen of Portsmouth. So that means we were just out with the people, with the normal people. We're the king and queen of Portsmouth, cutest couple of New Hampshire. All right, we are the champions of that. So we, there's the, we just, all we do is win. So anyways, yeah, I don't understand. I think that that's what it is. Whole Foods is just, they charge so much for their food that that means that it must be better, right? I mean, there was this like butcher shop in Stratham, New Hampshire, like 7, 8, 9 years ago, something like that, and they kind of fell into some debt, some pretty bad debt, actually. And it came like they stopped them paying their employees, which is never a good idea because the employees will turn on you pretty quick, and they did. The employees told the newspaper that they would be sent across the street to Market Basket with, however much money to buy steaks, like steak tips from Market Basket for, like, I think that steak tips at Market Basket are like $11 a pound or something like that. They'd buy these steak tips from Market Basket, bring them right back across the street to this butcher market, and then they'd throw them in some marinade and charge $14 a pound for them. And people would go and buy them and guilty too. I was guilty of that too. People would go and buy them because, more expensive equals better quality. The reality is that all of these things are coming from the same fucking places. They're all coming from the same cows on the same places. There's not a special Whole Foods cow farm somewhere. They're all coming from the same place. So and then the other story that I wanted to tell, the first time that I got drunk, not a great experience. My father really fucked with me. I used to go, there was a Cosmic Bowling in the town next door to me in Raymond, New Hampshire. Every Friday and Saturday night they had Cosmic Bowling night. And Cosmic Bowling was exactly, I feel like everyone listening to this knows what Cosmic Bowling is. They turn the lights off, they turn the black lights on, and all the balls fucking glow, and they get all the glowing stuff on the bars and along the bowling lanes and all that shit, right? So I used to go every Friday and Saturday night, right? So I go one Friday night with my friend Mike, and he's like, check it out, dude, I got some beers. And we go behind the bowling alley, and we each have 2, get this, Coors Lights. That's what we both had. We each had 2, I think we had 2. We might have even had 1. This is a sad story, and I don't like it, but I'm telling it anyways. We each had 1 Coors, or maybe 1 Coors Light, maybe 2 Coors Lights. And I was fucked up. I was completely hammered off of 1 or possibly 2 Coors Lights. I was totally hammered. I think I was about 15 or 16 years old. So, yeah, late to the party on that also. So I'm completely wasted, and my father had to pick me up at the bowling alley at like 11:30 because I didn't have a license. Like, it wasn't like he had to pick me up because I was drunk. He just had, that was the assigned time. Drop me off at 7:30 and pick me up at 11:30. So he picks me up at 11:30 that night, and he can tell. We've never talked about it, but I get the impression he could tell right away that I had been drinking. It's like September, October, something like that. So it's not wicked cold out. I mean, it's a little cool. It's cool enough to have the windows up, not cool enough to have the windows up and the heat all the way up in his fucking car. He drove a Chevy Lumina. There was no need for the heat to be turned all the way to 11. And it's only about a 15-minute drive from the bowling alley to our house. And it was the longest. I still remember it to this day. I mean, it's been over 20 years at this point, and I still remember this. I mean, we're driving in this car, and I'm fucking sweating bullets. Not for any, not for any like nervousness. I'm just sweating to death because he's got the heat turned up, and I am fucked up. I'm drunk, and we finally get home. I couldn't get out of that goddamn car fast enough. I stumbled my way up to my bedroom and immediately just fall on the bed and fall asleep. Right. But it's a drunk sleep, so and I don't know. I always heard that when you're drunk, if you put like one foot on the floor, it'll stop the spins, which I think was just a bullshit rumor that someone told me, because I was 15 or 16 years old and I was an impressionable, naive fucking retard or neurodecelerate. Sorry. I was just not, yeah. So I tried that. I put one foot on the floor and it's not working. And finally, around like 1 or 2 in the morning, I jump out of bed, run to the bathroom because I know I'm going to throw up, and it's the bathroom sink and then the toilet. And the toilet is only like maybe 3 feet from the sink. I couldn't even make it that far. I threw up right into the sink. And I had McDonald's earlier, and a whole pickle, well, a whole slice of a pickle, came up out of my mouth and into the sink. Do you think I cleaned any of that up? No, I did not. I left all of it there and went back to bed. And I got up the next morning, and my mother was like, "Did you eat McDonald's last night?" I said, "Yeah." "How'd you know that?" She's like, "Because there was a pickle in the sink." and she said, "Do you think the food was bad?" And I was like, Yep, that's exactly what I think. I think the food was definitely bad. And it never got talked about. They never asked me if I'd been drinking. I think that they were like kind of ostrich syndrome there. If they don't see it, then it's not really there. They never talked to me about that stuff at all. I remember I bought so like in high school, like, I don't know, not, again, probably 15, 16 years old. I bought a bowl, a marijuana smoking bowl off this kid. But the thing was that I never knew who to buy marijuana from. That was the problem. I never knew who to buy weed from. I just figured everyone was fucking bullshitting me. Everyone was probably selling me, I didn't trust anyone with that type of thing. I was like, to get real weed, you have to go to like Harlem and walk around some of those ghettos and maybe try to find someone that'll sell you weed there. Like, you can't get weed from someone at Epping High School. So even though I had this bowl, I almost never had anything to put in it. But there was a couple times that I was able to put something in it. And then I would sit there like fucking taking it apart and scraping the resin out of it, scraping all that black fucking nastiness out of it, and then putting it back onto the screen and then lighting it and pretending that I was cool, alone by myself in my bedroom smoking fucking black tar of some sort. So anyways, I had this thing and I kept it on a shelf behind a picture, right? You'd have to be sitting on my bed, sitting up with your back against the headboard, and then look over your left shoulder to be able to see this thing. Like, you couldn't see it from any other angle in the room. And my father comes in one night randomly, and so here's what happened. I'll tell you what happened, and then I'll tell you what I think the true story behind all of it was. My father comes in one night to say goodnight, which he never fucking did, ever. He comes in one night to say goodnight, and he stands at the door and just immediately walks over. He just immediately walks over towards the bed and turns his head behind this picture and sees the bowl. He's like, "What the fuck is this?" He goes off. I mean, he was just barely retired from state police at that point. And he goes off. He's like, "What the fuck is this? Why do you have a fucking bowl?" And I was like, I did the typical teenager thing. I was like, "It's not mine. I'm holding it for a friend." Which he didn't buy, and I got up early the next morning at like 7 a.m, threw the bowl in my pocket, got on my fucking BMX bike, and rode, I don't know, 2 or 3 miles away from home, and threw the bowl into the woods, and then went back home. So here's what I think happened. This is what I think is the true story. No, again, a conversation that has never been brought up before. And honestly, my father probably wouldn't even remember it now, which is a completely different story. But I think that it was like a Saturday because I had been working. Um, I think that earlier that day, my mother had been in my bedroom, probably grabbing laundry to wash or something like that, probably being mortified at like a pair of socks or a towel that she found underneath my bed. And, and she, I think that she found the bowl and she told my father, uh, I was in Dee's room earlier today and I saw this bowl and it's behind this picture and I don't know what to do. And he was probably like, I'll fucking get this one. And, that's what I think happened. There was no reason for him to come over to my bed. There was no reason for him to look behind this picture. I do wonder, like, that's one of those things that I look back on and I'm like, I wonder, what, what if I had moved it that day? What if I'd have moved it someplace that day? Would he then be like, your mother found a bowl in here? Would he come out with it? That's what I wonder. But yeah, anyways, that whole thing started with my father, the first time that I got drunk and my father fucking cranked the heat to 11 in the car on the ride home. He knew what the fuck he was doing. He knew what he was doing. He absolutely knew what he was doing. He was making it as hot as possible in there. And the reason they probably didn't bring it up the next day was because he knew that he fucking made that car so hot, it made me even more sick than I already was. So, all right. Let's talk about 4HM clothing tonight. 4HM clothing. See what he's got going on his website. You can go to 4HM clothing. All sorts of clothes from my buddy in Portsmouth. He's got a t-shirt here. Says, what moves you to do you? A unisex jersey that says the same thing. He's got this cool ass design on his t-shirts, a bunch of his t-shirts anyways, where it's like, it's almost, I don't know, I want to say it's like an infinity symbol, but it's not really, it's kind of like maybe like two infinity symbols. I don't know. It's a pretty cool design. But if you go to 4HM clothing, use offer code adulting, you'll get 10% off any order over $50, which is a great deal. Support the shows, or support the people that support me. He's got this 4HM visor with a pair of dice, and so it's like the pair of dice that is showing 4, and then the letters HM in red. Hats, women's tanks rather, men's t-shirts, unisex shirts, all sorts of stuff. Great designs on his website. Great clothes. So go to the website, use offer code adulting, 10% off any order over $50. So there, I think that's going to do it for my advertising tonight. I don't feel like doing any more advertising tonight. We're 48 minutes into this anyways. There's no need to do more advertising. Last night, Ro had a softball game. I know, surprise, right? She had 2 yesterday. She had 1 in Kingston yesterday and 1 in Newmarket. And so after the Newmarket one, me and her went out with the team for drinks, and we're hanging out, and I don't remember the conversation that sparked this in my head, but I was thinking about, like, there's only 2 women in the world that I've ever met who this doesn't apply to, right? So this is what I was thinking of, was girls and pets, right? And for some reason, with girls with pets always seem to be like, well, I need another one because they need a buddy. They need a friend. If a girl gets a dog, she's like, I need to get another dog because the dog needs a friend, or a cat. And I know that I'm what's the word that I'm looking for? It's not stereotyping. I'm generalizing. I don't know. Blanket statementing. Is that a word? I don't know. I also don't care. They always seem to say like, oh, I get this cat, but I need to get another cat because it needs a friend. And the only 2 women in the world I've ever seen that apply to correctly is my friend Kimmy and obviously my mate Ro. Each have 1 pet, and I mean now Ro has 2. because I also have two. We have adopted each other's pets to become our own. So I have two cats and Ro has two cats because we have two cats together. Um, but like if it wasn't for me ever coming into the picture, Ro would still just have her one cat who is adorable. She's so fucking angry. This cat is just the look on her face sometimes. So she's a feral cat, so she's just always very angry, and and she's warmed up to me quite a lot. But I remember like the first time that I ever went over to Ro's house. Maybe I think it was the first time that I ever went over. Um, we were in the living room and Ro was sitting on the couch, and then her cat comes into the living room, and I was standing up. I had like just walked into the living room, and the cat walks in and kind of sits on her ass and looks at me, and I start to lean down nice and slow, like I'm gonna pet it, and she let me get pretty close to her. And I thought, all right, I'm gonna be the cat whisperer here. She's gonna be, because she had already told me like she hates everyone, she doesn't like anyone ever. Um, so I thought like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. Like, I got this girl that I'm really trying to impress in the first place. If her cat accepts me, then I'm in. And I'm thinking, as I'm getting closer to being able to pet her cat, I'm thinking like this is going really well. And then her cat reached out and fucking hissed and swiped at my hand and sliced my finger open. Pretty fucking good too. And and I was just like, I played it off like, oh, nothing, whatever, right? And then I sit on the couch with Ro, and I'm looking at like I looked at my finger, and it is bleeding really badly. But I'm not about to say anything. I'm certainly not about to say anything about it. So I'm just sitting there pressing my finger against my jeans, letting my jeans soak up the blood and try to stop the bleeding. But anyways, like that cat ended up with exactly the owner that she should, because Ro deals with her great. She knows exactly her attitudes and when it's okay to pick her up and when it's time to put her down. And but that cat has like warmed up to me, and now I can pet it. Like I walk in the bathroom in the morning and she's up on the counter, and I'll be brushing my teeth and petting her at the same time, and she's like, yeah, okay, I'll allow this. She allows it. This is not a cat that's like, I want you to do this. This cat is like, I'm allowing you to do this right now. Don't get it twisted. But yeah, I never understood why girls think that the cats need cats or dogs or whatever need, it's just like anyone who intentionally will have a second kid because they want the first kid to have a playmate. Like, can't you find other parents out there? Can't you find other parents with kids in your age range that you can, that can be their playmate? Like, why are you bringing, like, you're already financially burdened with the first one. Why are you playing with the idea of a second one or a third or fourth one? And I know I'm throwing rocks in glass houses here, but if you meet one of my daughters, it wasn't supposed to happen. Okay. None of them were on purpose. I love them. They're awesome. Proud of all of them for all of their accomplishments. I hope that they don't go down the same path. I hope that all of their kids end up being planned kids. But, I was way too young to have kids. And so was my ex-wife. She was way too young to have a kid. Way too young. And to not have a plan. One of my exes, was, she was crazy. But she kept talking to me about having a kid, and I kept saying, no, I don't want a kid. Okay, firstly, I don't want one. Let's start there. All right. Secondly, even if I did want one, we are not in a position to have a kid. We can't even make ends meet. It's not even barely make ends meet. We can't make ends meet. Both of us are living paycheck to paycheck. And by the time the next paycheck comes up, we've had, $10 in our bank account for the last 2 days. Like, neither of us have any fucking money. Like, how do you expect to and her response to like, how do you think that you're going to financially be able to afford to have a kid? Her response to that was, that's what her response was. Nobody's financially prepared to have a kid. You just have one and then you figure it out as you go. And I was like, oh, okay. Hi, I'm a red flag. Nice to meet you. So, oh yeah, that kind of stuff. That was my old life. So, yeah, I don't even know where I was going with any of that. So I know that I had said I was going to rant on something pretty hard, and I want to, um, yeah, but maybe I'll just hold off on that for now, just because I don't know if it's the right time. I don't want to get in trouble by a certain someone for saying things that I shouldn't be saying. So maybe I'll just rant to that person, and then they can tell me whether or not I'm cleared. I'm cleared hot into the podcast world. Um, so I think that's gonna do it for me tonight, everyone. You can check me out, Adulting Donnie, on Instagram, which I've barely been using my Instagram. Uh, don't forget to check out the Adulting with Donnie Facebook group, the Adulting Donnie Super Secret Club. That is the name of the Facebook group. You can chime in on anything I talked about tonight, anything that you think I should talk about in the future. You can what can you do? What else? You can email the show, Adulting Donnie Pod. Apparently I've got the go ahead to rant. I told you guys a few weeks ago that my father had a medical issue, and that medical issue was a stroke, and it's only been about 3 weeks now since it happened, and it is a fucking nightmare to deal with all of it. I mean, it's so fucking difficult because it seems like there's a fucking power struggle going on right now. I got my sister, I got me, I got my father's girlfriend. Just everyone's fucking. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Like why can't we just fucking? Here's the thing. He has a stroke, and if you talk to him, you would think that everything is fine. You'd think that everything is just everything. I met him in the hospital that night, and I was like, why are you even here? Everything seems fine. The problem was memory. That seems to be what was affected the most. But he's you sit there and you talk to him, and it seems like everything's fine. And then the nurse comes in and asks him a fairly simple question, like, what year were you born in? And either he can't remember it, or he's giving the wrong dates. Or even now, 3 weeks later, he tells a story, and then he tells the same story again and a second time. Or like last night, I told him that I moved my snowmobile out of storage, and he said maybe next weekend we can put the motorcycle away, because he thinks it's fucking October or something like that. I don't know. And even though and then I said, no, it's still a couple months before we put the motorcycle away. And then within 90 seconds, he says, maybe next weekend we can put the motorcycle away. It's Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day every 90 seconds. And not to his own fault, obviously. None of that's his fault. I'm certain that he wouldn't choose this for himself. But it's fucking annoying as shit dealing with my family and someone who is not a member of my family. Someone who should definitely be sitting on the fucking sidelines and saying, what can I do to help you guys? And instead I've got it seems like his girlfriend is I don't know. I don't know what the fuck is going on. And you can't talk to him about it either, because, he's stubborn as all hell. So maybe it runs in the family. But you can't talk to him about any of this shit, because he wants everyone to be happy. And unfortunately, there are at least two people who are not going to be happy. You've got his girlfriend who wants to go one direction, and my sister who wants to go the other. And these seem to be the two people who are like most at control, trying to make decisions about the future here, and what's good at what time. And his girlfriend is, I don't know what the fuck she's thinking. But it's only been 3 weeks since this happened. It's only been 3 fucking weeks since this happened. Why are we doing things like nothing ever fucking happened? Something fucking happened. So why are we why are we acting like nothing is wrong? Why are we acting like we can just pick up and just go right back to normal? Why are we making plans to go 3 fucking hours away when we don't? This happened an hour and a half away, and it was a fucking nightmare to get him back here. I don't understand. It's been a real struggle for the last week to get to get all the, the stories from my sister, and then talk to my father and be standing there next to his girlfriend who doesn't want to fucking acknowledge anything is wrong. She just, and if something, if he answers something incorrectly, she can't wait to fucking interrupt and say and correct him on something when she shouldn't be. Which, let the fucking nurses. He has a goddamn in-home nurse right now who's helping him. So why let the fucking nurses make decisions on this stuff? Let the people who are professionally fucking trained to do these things handle the fucking thing. I would never walk into a or an open heart surgery and be like, "Hey doc, why don't you move over? Let me take it from here." Okay, I think I got this. I saw an episode of House once. Okay, that's not. It's flawed thinking all the way around, and no one's on the same fucking page. Oh, and no one wants to get on the same page either. Nobody wants to fucking talk to each other. I'm getting text messages from my sister every other day about how she's fighting with my father or fighting with his girlfriend about what she thinks is the right thing to do, what the other one thinks is the right thing to do, what he thinks is the right thing to do. You can't talk. I tried to talk to him. They go to the hospital, and she's presenting herself as his wife, which fine. I fucking get it on that day. All right, because it's hospitals still believe in COVID for some fucking reason. And they don't want anyone in there that's not family. So she's presenting himself as his wife. Fucking fine, okay? But 3-4 days later, weeks later, to still be presenting yourself that way as if it's a real thing, not fucking okay. You are not. Me and my sister are his children, all right? As far as I'm concerned, my brother is a non-goddamn person. He is out of my life. I wish he'd be out of our entire lives. I really can't stand this motherfucker. I hate him. I just wish he would go away forever. I wish that when he moved to another state, that other state had been California or, I don't know, somewhere in Brazil where there's like a high crime rate. I can't stand him. And this fucking psycho, on the day that my father has a stroke, he texts my sister blaming her, saying that it's her fault he had a stroke, which doesn't even make any goddamn sense. If you know anything about a fucking stroke, okay. I can hear shuffling around upstairs. So that means I've probably woken someone up. So I will dial back my rant for now. Like I said, I think that's going to do it for me tonight. I feel like I got a little bit off my chest there, but yeah, I feel like there's much more to say. There's so much more to say about the whole thing. It's all fucked up. It's a tangled web that somehow needs to be untangled and straighten the fuck out. I mean, people need to get on the same page here about what's okay and what's not okay. And it seems like there's too much not okay going on right now with the whole situation. And all I want is for whatever my father wanted. Before this happened, me and my father had many conversations about what he wanted out of the future, what he wanted to leave behind as far as me and my sister and my brother go, which again, he's a douchebag, my brother. I wish that he would just go away forever. I treated him as a non-person for a long time. I always explained it as I treat him like a stranger in the mall. I walk by a stranger in the mall and I wish them no ill will. I wish them no good fortune. They're just a person that I'm walking by. And that's how I felt about my brother for the last 5 years. But he has done something he has done multiple things in the last 5 months that have led me to just really despise him. And he is never welcome in my presence ever again. And I hope that I never have to see him. I fear the day that my father does really die, because it means that I'm going to have to see him at a funeral, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. I might punch him in the teeth. I'm not sure. But all I really want is for my father to, what he wanted 6 weeks ago, I want that to be followed through right now. And it doesn't seem like that's what's happening. And that's what's most frustrating. And I can't talk to him about it because, he'll tell me that his girlfriend just wants to, she just wants to help and she's just doing what she thinks is best. And then, but my sister certainly seems as though she's trying to do what she thinks is going to be the most healthy for him. And those are opposing ideas, because my sister's trying to do what she thinks is most healthy for him, but I can't tell if maybe, she's just pushing back on his girlfriend, and he needs to be taken care of. And I don't know. It's all very frustrating. It's all very frustrating, and hopefully I will talk to someone in the next week or two that can. Oh Jesus! Scared the shit out of me.
I love you.
I love you. Welcome to the place. Jesus Christ, my mate just scared the shit out of me. I'm just sitting here like talking to a camera, and all of a sudden there's this shadow like running at me from the corner. Hey, buddy. Good boy. Hi. Hi, little man. My little graphite is here. I can't hold him right now.
I know.
But yeah, I just want, whatever I think, what he wanted 6 weeks ago, I just want that for him. I want him to be happy with that stuff. I mean, he talked about rearranging his will, and, he for 15 years, ever since my mother died, for 15 years, he's been telling me that he never wants to get remarried. Never wants to get remarried ever. Ever. And he's told every girlfriend, including this one, that same story, and including this, well, all the other ones broke up with him because they didn't like that. They didn't like the idea of never getting married. This one was always on board with it and seemed to take it just fine. But all of a sudden, the will seems to be a fucking problem. And I talked to my dad right after the stroke, and I said, look, you realize that she's not really your wife, right? And his response to that was, well, that can change with the stroke of a pen, which was a very concerning statement to me. And I said, Dad, you've been telling me for 15 years that you never want to get remarried. Is that still the case? And, he kind of backtracked that statement a little bit, but still, I mean, it's very frustrating. It's hard to deal with. I hope, I don't know. I wish things would go back to normal, but I don't think they ever will. I think that we are stuck in this, new normal, so to speak. So, all right, now I'm done, and my mate's here, so I'm getting the fuck off of this show. You can check me out, Adulting Donnie on Instagram, Adulting with Donnie podcast on Facebook. Check out the Facebook group, Adulting Donnie Super Secret Club. You can email the show, adultingdonniepod@gmail.com. And don't forget to support the sponsors that support this show. AdamEve.com, 4HMClothing.com, MileHighAngel.com, and Manscaped.com. All of those have the same promo code, adulting, and varying levels of discounts. So that's it for me. All right, have a good night.